Ehrenström's plan was quite bold. The Ulrika Eleonora church was demolished and its surrounding cemetery removed. Both ended up under the Great Senate in Torre Square. It was thought to keep the old town hall, but that too disappeared from the city picture. Ehrenström faced only one difficulty. Who was there to accomplish this huge and responsible architectural work? In 1814, the cabinet came to hear of a German architect named Carl Ludwig Engel, who did private contract work. He was in Turku on leave from his job as a building master in Tallinn. Ehrenström and Engel met in October 1814 and were immediately impressed with each other. Engel wrote, "I rejoice at my unexpected luck." Ehrenström, for his part, was thrilled with the examples of the work Engel presented. They have a lofty and pure taste, are elegantly drawn, and can be compared with the best I have seen in this field. Ehrenström nominated Engel as the main architect for the construction of the new city. The Tsar confirmed Engel's position in 1816, and the new architecturally blossoming period of Helsinki began. Engel wrote, "My earnest hope appears fulfilled in that I have an almost unlimited field in which to practice and use my gifts. Such a thing is so rarely been given to an architect, and it brings such joy. The blessing to build an entire city is a rare phenomenon." Engel's work began on the main square, where two prominent buildings were to be constructed. He began to design the capital's most important structure, the Senate building, soon after arriving in Helsinki. This palace-like building, with the power of the Tsar shown in the facade, the Corinthian pillars and the cupola, was handed over to the Senate and its administration in 1823. After the fire of Turku, the Tsar ordered the university to be transferred to Helsinki. An area opposite the Senate had been excavated ready for the Governor-General's palace, but this was now handed over to the university, and Engel started to plan the new building. On his visit to the university in 1833, Tsar Nikolai I invited Engel to join him and shed tears over this surprisingly beautiful building. The Tsar had also approved plans for a great church on the central square. Engel considered this church his main work. Construction of the church was delayed due to a lack of funds, but during that time several other notable buildings, such as the Katianoka Naval Barracks, went up. A school for Russian orphans was completed in 1823. It was located on what is now Union Street. Engel wanted to give its facade a serious and friendly stamp. The school's massive gateways are also quite special. The university library was placed next to the Church of Nikolai. He designed the library facade to serve as a background for those entering the church through its main door. Engel's main project, the Church of Nikolai, was completed in 1839, and he was very satisfied with his work. The Church of Nikolai is the present cathedral, and its design goes a long way towards architectural harmony. The church was almost complete when Engel died in 1840. The massive steps, also designed by Engel before his death, were added later. The pictures of the apostles on the ceiling came much later. In 1852, 30 years after the drawings were made, the church was finally completed. The population of Helsinki had risen to 16,000. Engel's work as the builder of Helsinki was enormous. 30 of the public buildings he designed were constructed, and he monitored the building of 600 more. The city developed a beautiful atmosphere. It was light, it was spacious, roads were wide and straight, and its center was architecturally harmonious. During the same period, the population of Helsinki grew tremendously, and it began to become a true large city. The old professional guilds were done away with. Helsinki also became the largest industrial center in Finland. Steam power replaced muscle power. A railway network was developed to create as much freedom of movement as possible. The railway to Hämeenlinna was opened in 1862 and to St. Petersburg in 1870. Public transport within the city dates from 1888, with the introduction of the horse-drawn omnibus. The construction of the city's electricity network also started at that time. Large industry was concentrated on the edge and outside of the city. Helsinki began to develop an ever larger working class. Large workers' residential areas rose to the north, on the other side of the bridge. Impressive public buildings, such as the railway station, the National Theatre, and the National Museum began to grace the centre. Great plans were drawn up for a metropolis, but these were largely left unfulfilled. Finland finally declared independence in 1917, and the capital faced new challenges. The city was to be built on the latest, most modern plans. Between the wars, Helsinki had a fast, bustling city life rhythm. In the 1920s, after the war, unified city building became the ideal, and Helsinki led the entire country in its housing policy. The size and standard of housing improved. Many workers' residential areas were model examples to the high standard of design. Large unified housing areas were built in Töölö, Valila and Käpylä. Helsinki was now Finland's only large city. The population was about 150,000. More space for expansion had to be found from outside the city limits, mainly along the railway track to the north. Greater Helsinki was born in 1946, when the districts of Munkkiniemi, Lauttasaari, Malmi, Pitianmäki, Kulosaari and Haga were joined to the city. In the 1950s, Helsinki planned large residential areas. To the delight of the city, new areas consisting only of apartments were built. These so-called garden cities of Maunola, Herttoniemi and Roihuvuori stressed the spaciousness of nature and generally left the surrounding scenery untouched. Thus they combined the ideal of village life with that of the city. Shopping centres were built, and they functioned as the heart of the area, bringing people together. The services were not as varied as those in the city centre, but spacious and modern homes tempted people to move. The urbanisation of Helsinki reached its peak in the 1960s and 70s, when more and more people moved from the countryside. Huge suburbs, such as Jakomäki, Myllypuro and Kontala were built. Public transport problems needed to be solved by building an underground railway. The Helsinki Metro began operation in 1982. Initially, it operated between the city centre and Itäkeskus, the eastern centre. This was a new district shopping centre with department stores and public services. Thus, a new satellite town to the east of Helsinki was born. A total of 1 million people, that's every fifth Finn, lives in the capital and its surrounding area. Helsinki is a very young city, where the largest age group is the 28-year-olds. Although building in Helsinki has speeded up, and its age distribution has got younger, the soul of the city, its general atmosphere, and its worth have their roots in those gentlemen of the 19th century. Without Johann Albert Ehrenström and Carl Ludwig Engel, Helsinki would not have its typically beautiful classic smile and a unified, coherent, empire-style centre.